Good afternoon. My name is Lawrence Robinson, Assistant Athletic Director at Hargrave Military Academy. I want to thank you all for being here today. I know your time is valuable and precious, but this is a meeting that I wanted to have in order to ensure that we are all on the same page as an entire unit, which is encompassing the athletic department, the school administration, the board of trustee members, and the parent council. Before we get started, I'll just go ahead and say it. I will never claim to have all the answers, but what I have learned from looking at other studies and cases, I have a general sense of the interscholastic athletics landscape. It should be also be noted that I would much rather be proactive than reactive in certain situations. A little bit about me. I attended West Liberty University in Wheeling, West Virginia. I played football for 4.5 years, 2.5 years as a starter, and ultimately earned my bachelor's in business administration, majoring in sports management. I also earned my master's degree in April of 2019 in athletic administration with a concentration in interscholastic athletics from Ohio University. Athletics has always played a vital role in my life since I was a young child, and there have been things that I've always been passionate about in athletic administration. Everything I've done with my career up until this point has been geared towards a career in athletic administration, whether it was working in my college's athletic department as an intern or pursuing my master's degree at the top institution in Ohio University for interscholastic athletic administration. Pursuing this degree was challenging to say the least, but it was ultimately one of the more rewarding experiences as I was able to grow educationally and professionally in ways that I just couldn't even imagine. I now have an opportunity to combine my past experiences as a former collegiate student athlete, a coach, and as an athletic department representative to build an athletic environment that is dedicated to the success of the student athletes on and off the field, courts, tracks, whatever it may be. So with that being said, my favorite sports teams are the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Braves. I'm a Duke basketball fan, and then I'm a big University of Michigan football fan. And so I know this may make or break how you may feel about me, but we all have some kind of cross to bear, so don't hold it against me. And speaking of the University of Michigan, I love this quote by Michigan great Bo Schembechler that is simple, but I think it means a lot. That quote is, "The team, the team, the team." It's one of the greatest sports quotes of all time, and not just because he's a University of Michigan coach or great. It's because of what it signifies. What it really means is everything that we do is for the team. And he, in his speech, he goes to talk about, other teams having star players, and from an intrinsic perspective, no coach is bigger than a team, no player is bigger than a team. And so when I look at it and how it applies to what we do as far as a booster club, I think it really exemplifies what we do, because everything that we do is for our school's athletic teams, which ultimately trickles down to the players and coaches. All right, so for today's agenda, we are obviously here for the Booster Club and how we can help our student athletes. And so for my agenda, here are four labels that I want to discuss, but feel will be extremely beneficial to our success and growing as we move forward. So those four things are: what do we do? Who are we not? Where are we headed? And where are we not headed? And I feel like these four things will kind of encompass everything that we want to do and will be doing as we move forward as a Booster Club program. So, what do we do? There are four things that I feel that we do or that we should do as a booster club. The first is supporting our student athletes and coaches. I think this is the fundamental basis of why our booster club program or organization exists. Our goal as an athletic department is to create a winning and competitive environment that will allow our players and coaches to grow in multiple facets. And so with that being said, the goal of the Booster Club is to take the burdens off of the players and coaches, whether it be providing charter buses for long distance or state tournament trips or team banquets and dinners. And so essentially we are serving as another outlet for our coaches and for our players, and to enhance their experience as they continue along throughout the year. The second aspect of what we do is volunteering. It's absolutely crucial that all of our members, being parents and alumni, are Booster Club members, and that they remain engaged with the players, coaches, and the local community as well as the school community. While it's important for everyone to be there, it's more important that they're staying engaged through effort and presence at public appearances, whether it be games or different benefits or charities, things like that. Financial contributions are always great, but some families simply cannot make those commitments, but they do want to contribute in other capacities. And I think that's the beauty about our school and the program, and this particular program, is because we'll have some families that traditionally they just want to throw money at the cause or at the event, and that be that. But then there are some that they can't pay for much, but they're more than willing to help bake brownies or help cook for team dinners, things like that. So we will always accept families that want to contribute to our programs, whether it's donating equipment and resources or providing their company's resources to be used in facility improvement. If there's one parent that is dedicating their time, that's one more that we'll obviously take. And so again, with some of these families, they might work for an electrician, so they may be able to do some electrician work for us, compared to throwing money at us and giving from that aspect. And so it's always important for our members to contribute through their physical efforts, but we also want, if they can, we want our families to contribute financially. We will require all of our families to become members of the Parent Council and the Booster Club. And I think the fact that we have different income levels and situations, I think it gives us a well-rounded and balanced approach for our student athletes. And then as far as team functions, at the collegiate level, each team has someone that is or holds the equivalency of a operations director. And so the Booster Club should fall underneath this umbrella by taking care of logistical matters, helping run any team functions that are approved and granted by the head coach, and then also assisting in any fundraising opportunities for uniforms or facility-based opportunities. So for example, we currently hold collective team banquets for all fall, winter, and spring sports, and that's held in the mess hall on particular nights. What I would like to see is the funding for team meals and plaques that are currently coming from the athletic department. I would like to see those things come from the Booster Club, and then also setting up something where we are able to host those specific team dinners or team banquets at local community venues, whether it be a restaurant or a different type of venue that would allow us to host an event, and it also keeps us connected with the immediate community. On the flip side of who we are is who are we not. And there's two things that really kind of stuck out to me. I think they encompass a lot, and kind of from my perspective, kind of shadow what is currently going on in interscholastic athletics. And so those two things are gift giving and overstepping boundaries. So for gift giving, we all want to see our athletic programs do well throughout the year. And it seems almost every year that the NCAA is developing some new rules or plans that are designed to prevent goods or services being presented to prospective student athletes or current student athletes. Because high school athletes are also extremely popular, the same kind of thing is going on at this particular level. A few years ago, there was a scandal in Texas where a group of high school students were living in the state. They were spread out throughout the state, but they were eventually given a house at a central location so that these students could go to a local private school to play basketball. And so, they were living in this house unattended, and their parents were given jobs and obviously provided with housing, so that they were essentially being paid off, through a job and housing, so that their sons could go to this one particular school to win state championships. And it was great until there were some things that happened that sort of broke the camel's back, and it caused some attention negatively, and so it kind of put everything into a spotlight. And so that's what we are trying to avoid. So as we move forward, we don't want to get into the business of providing any gifts or services that would compromise our integrity as coaches and as a school when dealing with high school students, and also the parents or anything to that nature. The second facet is overstepping boundaries. Again, because high school athletics are so popular, some boosters feel that their power, whether it be through a particular position, as far as like a judge or a lawyer, or their current status financially, or a family name, or their financial contributions to the school, they feel that puts them at the front of the line. And while we always will appreciate and welcome the support of all alumni and current parents and former parents that want to be a part of the Booster Club program, we are in no shape or form have any say in the decision-making processes, whether that is coaching hires, coaching fires, playing time for certain players, or the handling of any disciplinary issues. That's not our realm. Our realm is to help and to support, not to become too ingrained in that process. And so we all have our designated roles, and while we need to adhere to those roles, there's only one kitchen, and for this particular case, there's only going to be two chefs, one being the athletic director and the other being the head coach of that program. And so there's no additional room for any more chefs in the kitchen. So moving forward, where are we headed? Forecasting towards the future, I think that it's important that we develop a strategic plan that will allow this Booster Club program to be successful in the short term. And when I say short term, I'm talking as far as like the immediate future, which will be within the next 2 to 4 years, but then also long term, which will stretch from 5, 10 to 15 years. And so the executive committee of the boosters will work in conjunction with the athletic director and the coaches and the subcommittees to ensure that we are following the right path that will ultimately lead to an improvement in our campus, an improvement in our athletic facilities, in our athletic programs, and in the overall school's health. Okay, so how do we move forward? I think looking at the overall landscape of our program and then in the immediate community, I think we've got to improve our relationships with the local community, and do a better job of leaving positive, lasting impressions. And I say that particularly speaking with the Chatham area, um, and I'll tell you a story. I know that and we all know that we offer a great product, and but we're almost non-existent in the local community. I recently had a visit with my eye doctor, and she was telling me about how she was sponsoring an event for the local public school football team, and I asked her why she had never done anything with us, and she said, well, quite frankly, no one's ever come over here to ask. And so I thought it spoke volumes, and I think it was a huge wake-up call for me personally, because it sort of signified that we are not really utilizing all the relationships that we can, and that we've really lost touch with the local community. And so I think that looking at it, I think we've got to do a better job of reaching out to our local community, and as I said, improving those relationships, and then also leaving positive, lasting impressions. So I think one thing that I would like to see is the Booster Club help us establish those relationships in the community through community service projects, and interacting with the local community more. I believe all of these things are directly related and will have great positive effects that could prove to be beneficial for the school. I think the better the relationships, the more local residents will see our young men, and they'll be more willing to, because of a built relationship, they'll be more willing to attend some athletic events, and which means more income for us, and then giving back towards the community. They'll be more receptive of coming to the different events that we'll have, whether it's athletic or different causes or charities. And those are things that we obviously would want to have in their support. So if we're having a blood drive, we usually get our faculty and staff and our students, but now we'll be able to get some members in the local community, and then a family may begin to have interest in sending their son or grandson or nephew to our school. And if they're not able to do that for whatever reason, they may be willing to refer someone else. Hey, it wasn't the right fit for us, but I think it would be right. I think it would be the right fit for you and your son or your grandson or whatever it may be. And so I think I heard a saying one time is your reputation is indicative on what people say when you're not around. And so if I'm an admissions representative or a football coach and I'm not around, well, what are our people in the local community saying about us as a school? And I think, doing some things as far as getting out into the local community will give us a better name, and, parents and families will be more willing to support us. And then the next phase on where we're headed is capital projects. And so looking at our current facilities coming together and then moving forward, I think I think it's no surprise that our athletic facilities are in desperate needs, and being at a private school, we are really in an arms race with other private schools for the recruitment of student athletes. I'm a firm believer that there is nothing wrong with having older facilities, because it brings about a certain nostalgia. When you look at certain facilities like Cameron Indoor Stadium or the Big House, those are facilities that are older, but people really it has that historical nostalgia, like this is the big house or this is Cameron Indoor Stadium, and we have those things, especially with like our basketball gym. This is the Sanford basketball gym. There's we have a postgraduate team that has produced over 20 NBA basketball players and hundreds, if not thousands, of college basketball players, and those guys were in this gym. They were on this campus, and so even for us, even though we're a high school, we do have that nostalgia and that history and tradition and reputation. So I'm a firm believer of, if you have older facilities, you have to take care of them. And if you take care of them, people are willing to overlook at them being older facilities. What I do have an issue with is if you have older facilities and they're not being taken care of, like what's going on now. Our facilities are not being taken care of properly, and they're run down. The football field is struggling because the proper maintenance and care isn't given to it that would help it survive, a football season, and then the winter season, and then the lacrosse season, and then summertime. Those are resources that we need to divulge to that. At this point, the athletic department, the president, and the booster club, we need to come together to become engaged in these projects. In these capital projects. They're to improve our facilities and update our facilities. Going towards ideas that are going to be more multi-purpose and multi-team usage will allow the student-athlete experience to be enhanced, and it shows in the same process. It shows our student-athletes, our coaches, our parents that we are investing in them, and we want to keep them happy, and we want to move forward as far as hosting events, and it'll also help with retaining current students. And bringing in new income. If we're able to take that football field and put down turf, well, now we can host, some 7-on-7 tournaments. We can host soccer tournaments. We can host lacrosse tournaments. Those are things that bring in additional income. We're now able to bring in different types of camps. All of those things bring in different types of income that only helps the school, and it also is good publicity for the school, because the more families that are on campus, the more money, the more exposure that they get to our school, which hopefully will lead to more students saying, hey, I might want to come to Hargrave, or more families saying, hey, we might want to send our son to Hargrave. So I think that's something that we definitely need to look into as we move forward. And now I want to talk about some booster committees. I think it's important that we have ties between our alumni and current parents and former parents, and then I'll show you some my vision of some organizational charts. I think that having these committees allows us to have parents and alumni with expertise in specific fields steer us or steer the committees into the best direction. For example, we want to have families or alumni that know football that are able to help, with a football specific type of committee, because they know the needs and the wants of that particular program. And just looking at it from a holistic perspective, we'll have an executive committee that will kind of give the final nod and approval, and then we'll have a subcommittee that will fall underneath of that umbrella. All right. And then as far as the subcommittee, here is what I envision. Obviously, the executive committee will be the overriding leadership of the subcommittees that will fall underneath of their umbrella. But here are some additional subcommittees that I feel are important. The first would be the Fairness and Equity Committee, that would ensure that we're properly supporting all of our athletic teams and coaches. Essentially, this would be, if we were at a co-ed school, this would kind of be the equivalent of a Title IX department that was more so in-house, and so they would make sure that we stayed in line as far as making sure that all of our athletic programs are being taken care of. What we do for one, we must do for another. The recruitment / membership committee is given the responsibility of adding new families to the booster club and maintaining / communicating with current members and former parents to ensure an open line of communication. So if there are any families that feel like there are any discrepancies or anything of that nature, or want to present any new ideas, then that would obviously go through this particular branch of the subcommittee. The finance / audit committee is the initial level of any financial transactions that take place, and will also be in charge of record keeping. And so they are also in charge of finding new ways to attract new sponsorships or additional sources of income. And as I said earlier, we'll have a third-party company that looks over all of the books, but then our treasurer will oversee the finance and audit committee. So there's 3 layers to ensure that we're doing things right way and have a specific type of protocol. And then the last committee would be the parent cadet committee, which is in charge of coordinating parents and cadets for home events, fan buses, team functions, and coordinating parents to help, whether it be in fundraising opportunities or providing resources for facilities. So again, if we've got a parent that they're an electrician, they're certified, and we go through a proper protocol on our end, then they can do some work for us, whether it be minor type of things. And so with that being said, here is where we are not headed. It is absolutely crucial that we progress forward as an organization. A saying that is very common here at the school is, that is how we've always done it. Once we have that type of mentality, we are officially dead in the water. Grace Hopper once said, the only phrase I've ever disliked is, why we've always done it that way. I always tell young people, go ahead and do it. You can always apologize later. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the first part, and I like the second part. But I'm very cautious about the second part, because we don't want this to become the Wild Wild West with everyone doing their own type of thing. We must look at the past to learn from past members, policies, procedures, mistakes, and successes. Looking at some of our facilities, you can see past job after past job, which has led into a bunch of past jobs that has now created a bigger problem. Looking at the building that we are in now, being Sanford Hall, a bunch of past jobs have now created a $300,000 problem that could have been solved 5 years ago at $40,000. Which does not include the labor and having to shut down certain parts of the building and relocate our students in certain situations. Why did those things happen? One reason could be short-term planning. You have to know what truly can be a past job as of right now, and what is a smaller issue that can become a larger issue if delayed long enough. And then the last thing I feel like is maybe the most important thing of all is favoritism. We know every school has a program or programs that are heavily relied on for revenue or notoriety, whatever it may be. Here we know it's the postgraduate basketball program. They travel around the country nationally. They go to the postgraduate national tournament every year. They're usually a very high seed. They've got anywhere from 5 to 9 major Division One basketball players, and the other guys are going to go mid-major Division One or Division Two or maybe Division Three. They have an Under Armour sponsorship. That's your cash cow, and we know that. We do. And it's also very easy for those programs to receive major benefits because of their success while leaving other programs in the background. As I said again, that would be our postgraduate basketball program. Not a very hidden secret. Everyone knows that's what we have. And then up until 6 years ago, it was also the postgraduate football team that has also produced NFL stars. So it's undeniable that they've earned that right. But we also need to invest into our other athletic programs. The saying, everyone wants to fatten the pig, would apply here. But if we're able to show our other athletic programs as a strong collective unit, then we're really moving and changing the culture into the direction that we want it to be. Again, we're all boys. We do not have to deal with Title IX as a traditional school would. But showing equity in matching gifts and benefits among all programs is a priority for this athletic department moving forward. If we're going to do this the right way, then we need to have a process in place that will allow us to follow guidelines of equity among our teams. Well, how do we accomplish this goal? As I said before, we've got to have policies on paper to discuss what happens when a major gift is received and what happens moving forward for other programs. This allows us to have consistency in what we're doing, and it also lets our coaches know that, hey, yes, the PG basketball program is going to get the bulk of, certain donations, and they're going to receive a great deal of benefits from their regard. We understand that. It's known. How do we help you as a coach? So what can we do to help you, to help make you competitive and help keep your kids happy in gear and new resources and things of that nature. And so it shows consistency with our coaches, and that we're there for them to help build a better environment for our players. The policies will also allow us to show that we have a protocol for any parents that want to pursue legal actions. Parents are human. Players are human. When you have a parent and a student athlete in a particular sport, they want their sport to be treated like a priority. At a traditional school, the same battle falls between male sports and female sports, or athletics as a whole, and the arts or the academics. And so while we do understand their thought process and we do want to meet their satisfaction, we know that we're not always going to meet those satisfaction levels. So we must be cognizant of families that are willing to do anything for their son's program, even if it means legal, even if it means legal options. In my book, personally, any parent that we have is fully capable of filing a lawsuit. And as I've said earlier, having to deal with Title IX is something that we really do not want to have to deal with. I had a professor that spoke with my class about Title IX. New stadiums were being built for the baseball program. Title IX was called because the softball team felt they were not getting an adequate amount of facility resources, and the baseball team had to rip up their baseball stadium that was brand spanking new. And so those are things where schools have been negligent and failed to adhere to equitable standards, and it's been extremely damaging for them in the long run. And so for us, it's best that we put a protocol in place that will allow all of our programs to grow. All right. I know that was a lot that I was throwing at you guys, but I do want to thank you all again for being here and I'd like to take this opportunity to take any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have. Um, I feel like this is something important that we need to have moving forward as far as the Booster Club, but there are issues that we do need to address so that we can make this a successful organization slash program. So I think as we continue to go along with this, we're all doing this for our players. We're all doing this for our coaches. We're doing this for our school. And at the end of the day, we want to see our school be successful in all athletic programs. And so I feel like the Booster Club is a great way to go about it. So look forward to any questions that you guys have. Thank you for your efforts and being a part of the school and being a part of this community.